This is the Oakwyn Podcast, featuring Morgan Brown and Michael Yu.
Welcome to the Oakwyn Podcast. We are so excited. I am Morgan Brown.
Michael Yu.
And I'm the Podfather.
And we're lucky because we have our partner in crime here.
Yeah.
For the second time, people.
Right.
And what is your name, partner in crime?
It's Arlene Chiang.
Arlene Chiang.
Arsenio Hall.
There's like a background noise. Brayden's going to put that in there when her names come up.
Yeah.
We're pumped. This is our second Woo episode. We had to get the powerhouse female of Oakwyn here. Arlene.
Oh, you're talking about Arlene.
Oh, you thought I was talking about me? And we are just going to open this up tonight because I'm in the grace of a brother and a sister. Right? I'm like the weird cousin, brother and sister that comes in. And I think people just want to know what we're like together. What are we really like together? Do we see each other a lot, Arlene?
We do. We see each other maybe too much. No, just I think we're like brothers and sisters. So we fight.
Yes.
We yell.
Yep.
We cry. No,
Yeah.
not maybe Michael only.
Yeah, like Greg's the only one.
Yeah, my pillowcase is filled with tears.
Who's stronger?
Who's stronger?
Yeah.
I think
Arlene or
Arlene.
Mike?
I think
Arlene.
Arlene and Morgan are stronger than me.
Oh, you mean like mentally? Oh, yeah, for sure. No, I think that, okay, let's talk about that. I think, how has our relationship progressed in our business life for the last like 7 years?
Yeah.
Like how, Arlene, tell us what's your perception of take on it?
Yes. What's the vibe? Well, I think meeting Morgan was a brand new thing. So, Mike introduced me to Morgan. I'd never met her before. And Mike's like, oh, she's the one. I'm like, the one? What do you mean the one? She's like, she's the one we're going to just do amazing things together, but we need Morgan. I was like, okay. So we went to Seasons, if you remember. It was quite formal. Seasons is our place too.
Did the three of us go? Or just
just the two of us. Because we needed to get to know each other.
I'm like, is this how he is? He just throws things together like this? And now I know, yes, it's true.
Yeah, so we had a nice chat at Seasons. I barely remember that conversation because it was just like, it feels like right away there was a click. There was just, we got each other. We got along really well. It was so easy. And I think that's like the secret. If everything is easy, then like your marriage is easy. When you have, it's all easy. Then you can flow in with people. It makes it so much more fun because you're not worrying about anything, I feel.
What do you think our biggest like challenge has been, like as a partnership, the three of us, like in the last 7 years? Has it all been light and easy?
No, because Morgan and I had our first huge blowout
last
summer during COVID.
Do tell.
We flipped out at each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the first time.
It was bad.
But then I told Morgan after, I said, see, now you know your family because I could yell at you.
I know.
Okay, what happened?
I think, the stress of COVID, and it was so
stressful.
It was so much going on. It was so heavy, like the environment of being in COVID, the energy.
Yeah.
It was actually, for some people it was good, they got a break, but I think for three of us, we were so pushing ourselves to be stronger, be better leaders, make sure everybody knew what was going on every second of the day. And, we were just under a lot of stress to make sure that everybody was, felt really safe in a very chaotic and unprecedented, unpredictable time. And I think it just got to this boiling point, and Morgan just shot me this text about, I sent out some communication, and she shot at me some text and said, I wish you should have did it this way or something like that. And then I was like, I called her and I flipped out.
I was like, oh my God.
I said, blah, 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 blah. And I just flipped out at her, and she was like, I don't think she's ever seen, because I'm a very calm cucumber. Out of the three of us,
stump, right?
I'm like nothing rattles me. I'm like
keep an eel.
She's a steady Eddie.
Was it keep an eel? Or
even keel.
You are.
It doesn't matter even if anybody comes with me with like they're panicked about anything. It's just like I'm the same. Like nothing really phases me.
Right.
No.
So
he's the rock and
but
shovel.
I think the real thing was when we kind of blew. we always have the same, definitely intentions for what we want. And that's what really what it came down to.
Yeah.
Is there was a couple teams that we were, because of the COVID pressure, there was a lot of teams changing. A lot of people had to adapt, and we had to kind of make it harmonious. And both of us were pushing so hard. And I think that was what drew us kind of over the edge. But it went
But
by
it drew
pretty
us over the
fast.
edge, but I think it brought us closer together.
It did. And then it was
I think
very
so.
funny
Yeah.
because we weren't seeing each other. Like, I just want everyone to say we were not seeing each other for like 3-4 months. And we were just like hammering through things, trying to organize things. And then I came over to her house.
She was like, what's that sitcom with Tim Allen and the fence?
Home Improvement.
Home Improvement.
Yeah.
So she was like the friendly neighbor. I was on my side of the fence. I was
Wilson.
Tim Allen.
Yeah.
Morgan was
I
Wilson.
was
She
Wilson.
came over. She's like,
was Wilson.
I just need to see you.
Yeah, it was really one of those moments that
Yeah.
I was like, this is a lot. And I needed to see my best friend. I needed to see her. We had to get over this. And it was like done. And then it was done.
It was done. It was
So
like,
that's how
very
you
fast.
resolved it. That's good.
Yeah.
To take that. I think a lot of people they have these big blow ups and then they don't talk to each other. Like I've heard all these stories of entrepreneurs, partners. They haven't talked to each other in like a year, 2 years.
It's crazy.
Right? Like, and I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
With us for sure. Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're lucky though, because we're extremely like a transparent group. Like, I think for myself, I like tell you guys, like, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to tell you now. Because if I let it continue to fester, it will just go like nowhere. But so I think I'm like that. We're all kind of like that too. Like if there's something that we notice with one another in our partnership, we don't mind just saying it. We're not going to be worried about like hurting each other's feelings.
Yeah, we're past that now.
We're past it. Yeah, we're past it.
Yeah.
That's a great secret, I think.
Yeah, I think building that, because we obviously this is like kind of a family style business that we're running, and it's funny. We went to lunch once, and then I guess we're all like family. Like we went to lunch once, and then Arlene was like, "Hey, Morgan, you have snot in your nose."
I know. It's true.
And we just have this kind of great like relationship.
Tell me where it is.
Did she lick her thumb?
It's there.
Lick
I'm
her
like,
thumb and
just
kind of give it a
take
little...
it away from my face.
Like, is it gone? And then Arlene's like, no,
No.
still there. It's like she's just like pointing.
Finally.
I call it spider webs. You got a spider web in
I'm like,
there.
it's not a
Yeah,
spider
like
web. This is a massive booger. So you need to figure it out. No, I think
Go to the
that
bathroom. Get out of our face. It's sickening.
we were like, I was actually thinking about this because I was driving by our first office and we had a lot, we do a lot of lunches, right? A lot of eating.
Yeah.
We family style eat a lot together. And we've had very fast eating where we have 20 minutes to not even talk to each other, just to be around each other.
Yeah.
And then we have really great long, 2 hours. Is there anyone that stands out to you that was like, just like any food place? Because mine was Copa. I think about that really. I think about
Copa
that
burned down,
stupid
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
steak.
gone.
That steak.
Yeah, so Arlene and I are like aficionados of like these cheap Chinese joints that they're all these hole in the wall restaurants that no one would ever want to actually visit on a regular basis, but we're there all the time.
Yeah.
And we just drag Morgan with us all the time.
Like,
that's
steak
good.
Yeah.
definitely has hormones in it, guys. I don't know about this.
This was GMO.
GMO. It's like so funny.
Yeah.
But we had like such a good time. Anyways, that was a really sad driving by. That is really sad because we had so many great like outbreak moments there, and then now we're trying to lean out and get healthier. So we go to like
getting older.
we go to like Heirloom.
I know. Mike's like,
I know,
let's go to Heirloom.
We go to
I'm like,
vegetarian
okay.
eating all the time now.
Yeah. Heirloom. We still go to the Dutch. Still
It's
so good.
expensive.
The Dutch?
Yeah, the pancake house. I don't know. I
That's
hate,
not healthy.
yeah, it's
I know, that's not healthy.
Morgan and I go there like every week.
I know. I'm like,
Morgan has like
this
this
pancake.
giant like pancake with
So
whipped
good.
cream and like
Yeah.
strawberries. I'm
Oh,
like,
you guys should try. Have you gone to the Dutch wooden shoe
No.
on Canby? It's like the Dutch, but just a tiny little local restaurant.
oh,
Yeah,
really?
It's
Okay.
amazing.
We gotta go there. We
It's
gotta go there.
kitschier.
Oh, yeah, it's kitschier. It's
Yeah.
also
Is
not
it?
healthy, but
Yeah.
it's great.
That's so funny. I feel like that those like little yeah. And Michael always looks at the menu and he refers to it in like a sexual, like the food is like a sexual content.
What?
You're like that sounds crazy.
What?
Can you do your best Michael menu impression right now?
Yeah, okay, here. Oh, the scrambled hash? That's got some sexual.
I don't do that.
You said that the last time you were like, there's like a sexual. This sounds like a sexual.
Dutch scramble.
Oh, that does sound sexual.
A Dutch scramble.
Your wife is pregnant. You need to get laid.
I'm going to look that up on Urban Dictionary.
It sounds like it would be.
Yeah,
It's not like it's
this
not. I don't think it
sounds
ends.
quite
It's
sexual.
called a
I
Dutch
was like,
scramble.
what?
Okay, so this is going off track. So usually this is what I do is I'm like, okay, guys, are we off track? Can we like come back to
It's
what we're
true.
talking
Right.
about here?
Now she has a mini her
Yeah.
that is telling us to get more
Right.
track.
Let's talk about Women of Oakland. Let's talk about
Okay.
the Woo event,
Yes.
right? And kind of the start of that. That was because that's a pretty that's
Huge
one of our
event.
signature events, right? Can you tell? What was the origin? What was the
Yes, Arlene, tell us.
Well, the origin is, I think, Morgan really is the one who inspired the whole event because she just said, you know what? We got to support each other as women. Like we are, we're only stronger together. And there's so much, bad experiences. I think that, Morgan had personally that just it wasn't a great example of what it could be like if you were really supporting people in the industry and really driving. And we happen to both be women owning a brokerage, which is not common. And then myself as a managing broker being a very small minority of managing brokers in the city. And so,
And one of the youngest.
A women managing
a
broker.
women managing brokers.
One of the
yeah.
youngest, I will say, in Vancouver.
Yeah, and one of the
Yes.
youngest. And so, I think it just brought out from that small idea, and it started out with a brunch at Shambar, which was just, let's get our team together, our women together, our women of Oakwyn, which was perfect for Woo, together to really just spend time and like get to know one another and inspire one another and hear each other's stories. And I think it just started out with that small gathering. And now it's turned into this fantastic initiative, I think, that we have. And we have this platform where we can affect so many women's lives in positive ways and really support one another by hearing other successful women's stories, from learning from one another. And just, that's pretty much what Woo is all about.
So good. There was like a big spark in that room, that first Woo event. It was
Yeah?
it was
What
like,
was it like?
it just felt like you're walking into something that like no one has really done before.
Yeah.
Like, and that was really like a
Like
profound
pioneering.
moment. Yeah, profound moment. And we are huge about, as like the three of us are huge about leading by example. It was our way to do that in the industry. So it really separated us from, and because of that, I think other brokerages picked up on it and they started to do it too, which is exactly
That's
what we
great.
want, right?
Absolutely.
We want
Yeah.
more and more people to go out there and to support female empowerment. And we moved it into different industries, and we now brought it in. Now we're bringing it back into now Canada wide, which is going to be amazing. This virtual event that we're going to be doing. But I think the goal for us is to help more and more women, mentally to kind of get ready, but also doing some sort of, scholarship and piece that we're going to be doing for 2021, which is great.
So do you have any kind of stories of like interactions with, maybe that did you want to share that kind of inspired some of these?
Yeah, I think there's two things. One that, I was hearing a lot of other females trashing other women. And I was like, why are they,
In the
breaking,
industry?
yeah, in the industry,
Okay. Let's
breaking
not name
them
names,
down.
but-
I'm not going to tell you who it was, but
Right.
I've heard it a lot. And it was really upsetting.
Like what type of things were they saying?
They were, they were saying like, oh, she's, you know how she is. She's, typecasting her as kind of a bitch, or typecasting her as just as like a kind of, what's the, like a bitch, right? Like kind of like a mean term for, but when that person was just being strong and they knew what their clients wanted and they were typecast in a different way. And that bullying was really hard to hear because I knew both people on both sides. I've heard it so many times. And I think that that's a really difficult thing to hear another female just break someone down. I'm a big person about not breaking anyone. Don't break anyone down. You're just breaking yourself down. So it's like, heard that a lot. And I just didn't understand why people, especially females in the industry, would want to be a part of that, take part of that. And I started also seeing a lot of males doing it. My own personal experience is when I was very young, one of the agents said to me, so are you planning on having kids? And I said, oh yeah, I'm planning on having kids. He's like, well, you're never going to be a top producer if you're going to have a kid. their whole mindset is going to change. You can't do it. And Gina Bourdain was just here. She had a very similar thing that happened to her. It was limitations that were put on females just because they wanted it all. They wanted it their own all. And that was, I never understood why. I felt that if people saw other people doing it, they would feel more comfortable going there, right? And so seeing people like we mentioned, really amazing mothers that look at Jacqueline Adler, look at, who has an older son who that are really inspiring other females to have families, but also have a great career, a career. And so I think for Arlene and I, we're kind of cut by the same cloth. Our mothers both worked, and we don't put that limitation on us. We were always very okay, this is just second nature for us, right? And same with Gina. She you can tell from our conversation as an entrepreneur, she saw it was normal to her. But there's a lot of other women that don't have that. And so, but they have the dream, and being around like-minded women like that really made it easier for them to make attached to it.
Yeah, I think, the idea of, breaking your own personal barriers and what people are saying about you. But, my experience is quite different from Morgan's in that, the first experience I had going into being a managing broker, I was lucky enough to get invited to a couple of roundtable events and things like that. And I literally, this is that having a seat at the table and whether or not you feel like you should have the seat at the table, because literally it's all, older, white, Caucasian men with white hair and gray. And I'm like, am I supposed to be here? Should I even say anything? Because, so this idea and this block maybe of, do I deserve to be here? Should I be here? Why did I get invited? All of these ideas and things where, obviously you're invited because they want your opinion. They want you to, stand for something, say something to improve, the industry or whatever else that we were talking about. And so that was kind of a turning point to me, because I literally got to sit at the Vancouver Club on this big, 12-seater leather bound table. And I'm just like, this is the epitome of what it is to feel like, do you have a seat at the table or not? And so you do. And when you do, you better use it.
Use it. Yeah, for sure. And
did you feel intimidated in that moment, or?
Yeah, definitely, because these were veteran managing brokers, owners, and I'm the youngest buck in there. Yeah. And I'm like, what am I doing here?
Big
and this
buck.
is
What happened exactly?
Well, it was just, I think it was a committee, and they were talking about forms actually, and how to make better forms, but still, it was something that was just the first kind of foray into all of the kind of different meetings and things that you could be part of. And yeah, it just felt intimidating. I wasn't too sure if I was in the right place. But at the end of the day, I felt more comfortable once they started talking, and, I thought that my points were valid, and, I put them out there, and, and I think they took some of that feedback and did things with it. So, I think you have to believe that you have the ability to have a voice when you have that seat, and now that we have the seat, we have a huge responsibility. Morgan and I, to open the doors for other people to know that they can do whatever they want to do, right? And metaphorically have that seat at the table.
Yeah. I think, Arlene and I obviously are brother and sister. We have a very matriarchal, our family is matriarchal, wouldn't you say, Ar?
Yeah, I was like, okay, this pod is about woo. What am I going to talk about? What are we talking about?
Planning, okay, guys.
And so
talking about Dutch scramble.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's a pervert. What are you talking about?
Now people are going to think I'm some sort of weird sicko. Jeez.
Too bad.
Okay, change topic.
Yeah.
Or continue.
So I actually, on the drive over here, I was thinking, I was like, okay, well, we come from this very matriarchal family. Basically my grandmother on my dad's side, she was the force to be reckoned with. She carried duck eggs on her back, and she worked as a seamstress selling fabrics at the store to maintain her family, because my dad's dad passed away when they were so young, and she was just that
single
glue,
mom.
that single mom that pretty much raised 5 kids on her own and immigrated to Canada, right? And so she was always the one that kept that family together. And then my mom is just another whirlwind of, I don't know where she came from, but for her story was just her her parents wanted to have a boy so badly, and they adopted a boy after they had her. They had many miscarriages, and she was finally born, and she didn't mean very much to my grandmother. But I think for her mentality was to take that and say, well, I'm going to be better than any boy that you could have ever had.
Ugh.
You know, and I think that kind of filtered into like the kids that she had, because now all of her daughters are just like
So
strong women who don't think that they can't do anything. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think also just like with her having two sons, like you and Alec, you guys are just so in awe of other women. Like, I mean, that's another thing too, right? You breed a strong mother breeds like a son that will respect the female, right? I think that's fair. For me, my dad always said to me, like, no man should take care of you. You should always, like you should always be able to take care of yourself. And he always kept male, female, it doesn't matter. It was never a sex for us. It was like, you guys are the same, like figure it out.
Yeah.
And that was the best thing.
I think that's the right, and that's such a good, that's so refreshing, obviously, for, a lot of older generations. They didn't really have those types of equality and things like that. And it was, for me growing up, like, my sisters, like Arlene and my big sister Adrienne, there's 5 of us, brothers and sisters. They're like amazingly talented and smart, and like they got great grades, and they were great at, Arlene was great at sports and great at art. And I remember like we all went to the same elementary school. And so like my 2 older sisters are like, my eldest sister Adrienne is like a brainiac, super smart, like gets straight A's, and like everyone likes her. Arlene was very very popular, great at art, great at sports, like would clean the chalk brushes and stuff like that. And then I would come in, and it was just like, this is like a C- student.
What happened?
Yeah, like this apple fell very far from the tree. So I've always had a lot of great respect for for Arlene and women specifically, because I don't see any difference. I think everyone, and in our team, we just hire the best talent that we can.
Yeah,
right? And
we do.
Regardless of, we don't really think of like, we race, gender. Like, it was really interesting. Did you hear? So we were on one of our managing brokers. He won't mind me sharing this story.
Yeah.
Joe Lloyd was in an office that only hired men. He's been in the industry for 45 years.
In North Vancouver,
let's not, we won't specifically say which brokerage, but they only hired men.
Yeah, and he also told, like, so his story was, we worked in an office that only hired men, and if people would come in and say, I would like a female, they say, go to another brokerage. We don't have females.
Yeah, that's not that far. That's not that long ago. That's
20 years ago.
Yeah, well, not
25.
Over
25 years
yeah,
ago.
a long time ago. But still, like, that's not very far away. There's people still around that have faced this type of thing, right?
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, it's crazy to think.
Do you feel like now that you have a daughter, do you feel like you have to, like, because I'm having a daughter, do you feel like you have to, like, be like a super example for her, or is it different with Lucas because it's a boy and a girl, or it doesn't matter?
It doesn't matter to
Yeah.
me. I'm the same. I'm the same with I'm the same person.
Yeah.
I'm still the same. I get up and I
Mama.
do all the things that I do for them. And it was funny. I was like listening to the 5 love languages.
Ooh,
Okay.
And
yes.
it was more about making sure that they felt love in their own way.
Right.
So, I don't think that I don't treat them any differently, except maybe now I'm more conscious this last week about, how do they accept love? And I'm going to make sure that I pay attention to that.
Love that.
Yeah.
Just remind us, what are those 5? Do you remember what those are?
I know some of them. I think it's a physical touch. So
Right.
some people, they crave physical touch, or they need physical touch to feel loved. Quality time, words of affirmation,
Right, words.
and
Acts of
service and gifts.
Yeah, those are
Yeah,
the 5.
those are the 5.
And they change, right?
Yeah, and
you can change.
It can change. You can change. You can change in different phases of your
Different
life. But
phases.
if you look at your kids and you look for the clues, they'll show you what they need. And you should
My son is
focus on
personal touch.
it. Yeah.
My son won't let me I'm like, I always have to touch. He's such a touchy person. And sometimes I'm like, okay, you're so I'm like, I'm going to go over here. And he's like, no, mom, hug me. I'm like, okay, I'm hugging you forever. It's amazing though. It's such a great way to break through, right?
What's your what is your
what's your love language?
Yours?
I am how I show my love is acts of service.
Yeah, you
always.
do. Yeah.
I do stuff for everybody all the time. That's the way I show love. But then I actually take the quiz. I don't know what the one is that makes me feel loved.
What's yours?
Mine, I think I like words. You
Oh,
know, I like
you
to
need words of affirmation?
I don't know.
called
Actually, I think it's all. I don't even know. I like words. I like giving words of. I think so. I don't know. I'm on a podcast, so
What are you?
Right now.
I think I receive love with acts of service. When someone's doing something for me, I'm like, I feel really loved. I'm like, okay, but I like to give with words of affirmation. I like to tell people you're doing a great job. I love you.
Yeah.
I think my lowest. I know my lowest. That's gifts.
Gifts.
I don't like.
Yeah, you're not good with gifts.
Yeah, I'm not good with gifts. I'm not good receiving or giving them.
It's like you get awkward.
Yeah. I do.
Christmas must be tough in your house.
Well, we didn't really receive we just had Christmas, right? And,
Yeah, so Christmas, growing up Christmas in our household, we never had, there was only a few times that we ever had a true Christmas with gifts and stuff. We started doing a Secret Santa with all the siblings and my parents, when we were 17,
Yeah.
when we're
Well,
old.
that's really
So
old.
we don't even have childhood Christmas memories. And now I'm making all these childhood Christmas memories for my kids because I'm like, we never had it.
Arlene, I remember Arlene used to Arlene used to either draw or put in tinsel a Christmas tree in
On the window. On their Vancouver special.
Yeah, on a Vancouver.
On the patio door.
Yeah, on the patio door.
Here's our Christmas. Charlie Brown.
You know what's funny though, because being on the outside of you guys, your family is so close though. You guys have
when
a
you go
lot
through
of
a lot
love.
of suffering.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of love, a lot of love there. And it might not be oh, let's be huggy and kissy. There's just so much support. And, I think about times where we've called your brother and said he needs to get to the building at 5 a.m. in the morning. And Al's there for us.
Yeah.
It's a really incredible family. And I think that's what, after watching you guys having 5 siblings, I think 5 is really special. When you have more kids.
You come from 4.
I came from 4, but we're all none of us are in Vancouver. It's just me. So I came into a family where you guys are all still here.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah.
We're lucky.
Very
with that,
different. Yeah.
I think our mom had a lot to do with it. Talk about a female powerhouse. My mom is she's just a very special lady, and she's very
Yes.
she's very charming and
Mm-hmm.
free spirited, but at the same time she instilled a lot of solid routines in us. Every Saturday,
what?
every Saturday morning. Or you want to?
Yeah, every Saturday morning, a ritual to make sure that we would go for breakfast with our grandparents. We've been going for breakfast with our grandparents since we were, 6 years old. So every Saturday we would do breakfast, and that tradition still continues
Yeah,
now.
we do
We're
that now.
still
Amazing.
we still do breakfast, and now I force my kids to come for breakfast. I don't want to go to Amma's house. I was like, you have to. We're going. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
yeah.
We're going for breakfast. But I don't want. It doesn't matter. We're going for breakfast. Let's go.
Yeah.
So it's these types of things, right? Just trying to keep that unit strong. And so she's been, definitely that person and that role model, I think, for all of us to make sure that we're doing, taking care of one another.
Yeah. Love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Your mom is a powerhouse.
Your mom
too.
is
Yeah.
Yeah, she's crazy too. She's super strong. She's going through her second bout of cancer. She's just in her recovery right now, and I'm so proud of her. I'm so proud of you, Mom. You're probably listening to this. I'm gonna cry. I know, but it wasn't easy. I would say this, especially being the only child here in Vancouver, it's been really challenging. I think you have to be really physically, mentally strong to make sure that the other person on the other phone line, especially during COVID, is feels that energy and feels okay. And but she's mummy. Like, I mean, she's mum to, you know, all of us. And I think she's always never going to show her cards. Truly. I think mums never really show pain. It's just part of our thing. We're not like, oh, like, you know, I think even for my own kids, I'm probably gonna be the same way. Like they're always number one and you go that way. But yeah, my mom's super strong and she was I was raised Catholic. So I did Sunday schools and I was at church every Sunday with my mother. So those traditions were always very strong. And my parents, we would have Sunday brunch every morning. And I think as we've all dispersed, I've put a lot of that tradition into my own family. So like, I mean, little things that are in my house that I have taken from my like, I always do leftovers like on the weekends. So like, for instance, if I have like a bunch of leftovers, it's like our Sunday morning. Like for some reason, my parents would like, we'd have like steak and salmon and all this stuff that we had leftovers from the whole week. And we do it every Sunday morning. Like it's like so you'll have like pad thai, like you'll have like a little bit of this. Everything's coming at a different times. Yeah. And it's just something that was so normal, right? It's such a normal thing. But yeah.
Yeah, I remember your mom's speech on your wedding. It was really like it was very emotional. It was very heartwarming. Like, you know, how she like talked about Morgan. It was like, yeah, it was a very like that was really like touching. It was very, very touching.
And how she was talking about Sean too. Like there was like super emotional. I'm like, okay, mother. Yeah. But she's a very strong
loving
woman.
Person.
She's loving, she's strong, and we're very lucky to have really strong role models. Like women to women, I think that really sets the tone. Like, I mean, they're your role models. Is your first role model. I was reading a book about this because I'm having my second and I'm like, okay, what does it actually mean, like internally? And like your father and your mother are your first role models of your whole life. So between the ages of 1 to 3, like you're gonna be funny. He'll be like, I feel like your daughter's gonna be like, my dad is just so funny. He's so embarrassing. I can't handle him.
I don't know. I'm very excited so our daughter's coming at the end of May, which we're really excited about. You know, we have a 93% chance at a certain name. I'm not going to announce it on this podcast, but
93, that's high.
93%.
Yeah,
But you know what? Like, I actually am just like visualizing and dreaming about like, I've written in my little journal about like, you know, our relationship and what it's going to be. And, you know, I don't want to put too many undue expectations on it, but it's just like, I'm pretty excited. I'm very excited.
Is that true? Is that right, Brian? Should he not put expectations on the
Yeah, I
relationship?
was just going to say, it sounds like you're putting a lot of expectations on
Yeah, I know.
deciding what your relationship
Well, you know, I think it's just like, that's just my nature. I just think I imagine her being 10 years old and then like, you know, and her being 20 years old and what I'll be at that time too. That's just weird.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's okay as long as you're not like disappointed if it goes a different direction.
No, I will
right?
be.
Yeah.
And if she doesn't pan out the way that I...
not a tiger mom, a tiger dad.
Tiger dad.
Tiger dad.
Then there's hell to
tiger
pay,
dad.
And I will withhold love. And
Approval, acceptance,
I'm
not
gonna-
for you.
I'm going to use that as like...
You're going to be
I'm
a
going to
good
use that
dad.
as currency.
Arlene and I always joke because we're like, we can't wait till he has his own kids because we've been running Oakwyn with
Arlene,
children. You know what I mean?
I must say,
Yeah.
you know,
I'm
Like we've been
I'm
running
so
the
excited.
real business with Oakwyn while we were pregnant and having kids, and you know, and so we're like, come on, Mike, feel our pain.
Yeah, he's going to get a taste.
Yeah, it's gonna get a taste.
Those sleepless nights and be like, why are you
Sleepless
so
nights.
moody? Like, why am I so moody?
you know what happened last night.
Actually, last night was funny. Last night, both Arlene and I had our Zoom call. We have 7 a.m. meetings on Fridays for all of our team, and both of us look like shit this morning.
Bad. It was
Sorry,
bad.
but yeah, you can blub that out with the shit. But basically, we were like, and I was like, oh, my son was up.
Mine were waking me up at the right when you're about to fall asleep. It was
just like, what is happening?
Why are they here right now?
Yeah.
I was just about to fall asleep, and now I'm up forever.
Yeah, you're up forever, right?
Yeah.
And you're just, you know, and I was like, oh, go
So
downstairs.
is the main thing sleep deprivation? Would you say that's like
You know, it's the
number
biggest
one?
form of torture, like, right? Like that's what they say, right? Like,
Yeah.
so you have to like get your head around, sleepless nights and not only like our kids are older now, and it's still continues to happen.
Well, your kids
Are
aren't
you
that
serious?
old. They're like your
Yes.
kids too, right?
Yeah, but 2.5, but like it's like people, all of our friends, they still will jump in your bed at like,
Yeah.
you know, what time, like all of our friends are like, oh, they're still, they're like 12 years old. They're not 12, but like 10 or whatever. They're still jumping in their beds, right? Because they're scared or they're tired or they're sick or they're hungry or they're whatever. But we just don't even care. You like, come over here.
Yeah.
Just be quiet.
Just be quiet. Yeah. We're going away this weekend and we're like, he's out of his crib and stuff now. So we're not bringing like a pen or anything. So Sean's like, I guess he's sleeping in our bed. We're not going to sleep at all. Because it's like he's moving around and he's always kicking around. He's not like one of those sit still guys.
Right.
Yeah. He's like you.
The Tasmanian devil.
Yeah. But yeah, sleep deprivation is one. But it's also just because you're the only one that can help them.
Yeah, you're just going through so much, like, physically, mentally, like, feeling like, oh, are you paying enough attention to your kids? Are you paying enough attention to their business? Like, and it's all okay at the end of the day. It's
Getting
all
like
okay.
pulled in a few different directions,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How do you manage that, R?
I think you're managing it still every single day, right? Like, I think if you're a parent, or even in just a relationship, or even just trying to manage any kind of thing, you just want to make sure that. I think it just matters what you feel. It just matters what you think, and everyone else can say what they want to say, but it's kind of your life, and you're the one who knows what's best for you.
It's a great piece
And
of advice.
I think when you start to listen to too many voices, that's when you create too much doubt, you create too much anxiety, and you create so much. Those are things that are outside of your control. You can control what your actions are, what you're spending time on, what you're doing. And, and hopefully it's enough for everybody else. But as long as it's enough for you, then you should be, happy and smooth sailing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I look back at you with regards, like Arlene had the first kid out of all of us. She had it literally the birth of Oakwyn. And, I think the last 7 years, it's so interesting. Like you have literally taken, I just know as a parent, it's like the growth of a company, the growth of per agent, and also the growth of your own family, that is like, that deserves an amazing amount of applause.
Yeah.
It's really incredible.
I'm actually interested in, because obviously Arlene's an entrepreneur. She's, we built this company. We were doing resale for many years before that, being real estate agents. Like, what are some of the big lessons learned in entrepreneurship? Let's not just talk about female entrepreneurship, just entrepreneurship. What are some of the big lessons? Because you're managing, how big is our staff? Like our internal staff now is like 20 or 30 people?
Yeah, our internal staff is growing to support all our great agents. So yeah, I think we're over 25 internal staff members now. So
and then we have 460
agents that we're working with. So yeah, it's a big team. It's a big team. Lots of levers, lots of relationships, lots of expectations to manage. Right. So, I think the biggest lesson that I've learned. Ooh, that's a good question. There's so many lessons. But I think, and a couple would be, I think it's okay to make mistakes. I think that's a big one, is that it's okay to make mistakes because you're going to make them. And I think you learn the most and you develop the most when you make mistakes. And instead of feeling bad or like just drowning your sorrows in what could have, should have happened, you take that, you learn your lesson and you make things better. Right. So it's always this evolution of, ooh, that could have been better, but okay. And you move on.
Yeah.
Right. It's not to be dismissive of what's happening, but it's just,
What's a mistake you made?
Oh, what is a mistake I've made? There's so many. What to choose from?
Working with me? Just kidding.
That's a good mistake.
That was a big doozy. Still paying for it now.
Yeah, I think choosing who you want to work with, like people is a big one. So learning the lesson of, okay, when you think you want to try to keep on making things work, or you like that person, you think that's the right person for the job or whatever, and it's obviously not, and not cutting that relationship off sooner, it usually turns out worse for everybody on the team than if you had just done something about it right away. Right. So I think choosing who you want to work with, and that could be, as an agent, like, do you want to work with that client or not? Like sometimes a lot of agents are like, oh, I want to hang on to dear life for this person. Sometimes it's not worth it. And you're not willing to let go when you when you can't service that person the way they need to be served,
Yeah.
right? And then if you're running your business, same thing. If you're hiring staff or bringing on people to join your team and those things like that, when it's not the right fit, it's not the right fit. And you got to know that already within the first like month, 2 months, you'll know. And if you hang on, it's like
Your gut knows.
your gut knows. And, sometimes it's a training thing, but yeah, that's probably the number one lesson is know who you want to work with, know the people you want to be with. Yeah.
That's a huge lesson.
huge
I feel
lesson.
like, I there's this like myth that you can be like just this one hero and just like defiantly like Mark Zuckerberg, and it doesn't matter who he was with, he would like have done what and I don't believe that.
I don't believe it.
You got to surround yourself with like a really great group of people. Some people are better out front than others, and just kind of really like, really work with the right people. I think that's absolutely key.
Is that your number one thing in entrepreneurship is find the right people to work with?
I think it's got to be for me. It's got to be one of the top one. It's got to be one of the top one or two.
Yeah.
There's a book Morgan, Arlene, and I love, Good to
Value.
Great.
Oh yeah, Good to Great.
And it's one of the first lessons is start with who, not what. So like who is on your team is more important than what you're actually doing. So, because if you have the right people in the room, Arlene, Morgan, and I think, we are like a really great team. We're all very unique personalities and
Very different.
But
Yeah.
I think we're in real estate brokeraging, but I think if we owned a bakery, I think it would probably,
Do really well.
yeah.
I want to do that. By the way, I'm thinking about starting a cookie company.
First of all,
Seriously.
honestly,
Really?
Sean and I were going past Circus. Circus
Yes,
on Grandview.
yeah.
And we were saying we need Arlene to open one on like Fraser and then
Yes.
have cookies and coffee. Arlene would just make it because that's like the new hub, right?
Yeah, totally.
So good. I love her cookies. I can't wait till I give birth and get my lactose free.
Exactly. So when everyone's starting to have all these babies, I'll be baking all these cookies
The
and then
lactose. So that you can have
Arlene
better
is an
milk.
amazing, like that's something that people might be surprised with because you're like this entrepreneur, but you're an amazing chef.
You are very good.
Yeah.
Arlene
very
is
happy
an
about
awesome.
that.
That was what we your old job.
Yeah, I want to become a Red Seal. I wanted to work in kitchens, open restaurants. I wanted to do that whole thing. And yeah, but instead I'm with these guys.
Do you lose yourself when you're cooking? Like, are you like, because I watch so many of these the cooking shows because I just love them. It looks like the chefs like lose themselves when they're cooking. You know what I mean? Like they're just like so in this trance.
I find it, I think it can be very relaxing, but it can be very just like satisfying because you're putting, you start with nothing and then at the end you're like, that tastes good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I've like had this rediscovery of this relationship with Anthony Bourdain. Have
I
you guys?
know, yeah.
So I've reread all of his books, and then I've like read a lot of his articles in the New Yorker, and like I'm listening to his interviews and watching his shows. I'm like, this guy is
Do you
just.
think someone killed him?
What? Is there a conspiracy?
Yes, there is. I just want to know.
I
Why
didn't
do
know.
you think he was murdered?
I didn't know that there was a conspiracy.
I'm serious because if you dug that deep, you could have
Yeah,
seen the notes that
yeah.
are in the things that he's saying.
Wait. A
Okay.
little bit of unpacking. Not too
so
much.
like obviously,
We're
like-
getting into it.
Conspiracy?
yeah,
I
it's a bit of
didn't
a
know.
conspiracy, but like he may have committed suicide. But then there's there is some
Government.
rumblings that I don't know about government, but then he was because he was his ex was closely tied with sex scandals and stuff like that that has occurred, and he obviously had a platform which was unregulated, had an unregulated platform, even though he was on CNN at the end, but he was able to have a lot of free liberty. If you listen to I've been listening to all his old podcasts, he only took on projects if he had complete creative control. He would not allow
Really?
editors and stuff like that. He's like, I'm not going to take it. He would just say no. He said, I would rather be in front of a deep fryer, like doing fish and chips all day long than
be controlled.
Than be
He was
controlled.
controlled.
So they just
Yeah.
let him go.
It's like
and
jail.
that's why he had this like Hunter S. Thompson esque
Yes.
Adventurous, explorer, pioneering, like authentic pirate kind of attitude, which I felt was really like just phenomenal to just see. And so I've just been that's a conspiracy thing. I don't get too much into that, but like it's just really
I saw it on
interesting to see.
Reddit, so I was like, oh,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's so interesting I think he's, how do we get onto that tangent?
Yeah, we're talking about Arlene's a chef. Yeah.
Chefs, cookies.
Yeah. So that's one of the lessons. So you're talking about who first? And what was another lesson? Right?
Yeah, give us another lesson on your
boy.
entrepreneurship.
Yeah, entrepreneurship. Because lots of entrepreneurs.
Entrepreneurs, man.
Yeah, they listen to the pod.
Okay, another lesson. Oh boy, that's hard. That's the biggest one I had so far.
What's your biggest lesson, Mike?
I think you gotta have faith. I think you gotta have, faith in what you're doing.
See, I never had that problem.
Arlene is just so confident in herself,
Yes,
but like, for those of us that are not like that, I think being reminded that not to be attached to the outcome, like what some other, we were talking to a couple other people about, but really like having faith that, this is going to work, that this is, and striving for an optimistic outcome and being okay with, not exactly hitting those targets, but just having faith that what we're doing is the right thing. And I think that's something that Arlene and I obviously have worked on a lot, is just, having like doing something with the intention that it will work out, at the end, and not really second guessing ourselves and taking half measures. I think, Arlene really was a big part of like a lot of our push of a lot of our bold initiatives and the bold moves that we've made, because she has like an extraordinary amount of faith, I would say. Right? Laura?
Yeah, I think maybe it's back to our mom, but like, I've always believed that I'd be okay. And maybe that's also from seeing their examples of, they were an entrepreneurial couple, mom and dad were both working on their own, and they had major, massive business failures, lost everything, lost a house, all these things. But as a child, the experience that I saw is that they got back up and they just did it again.
Yeah.
So it didn't really impact.
It's like muscle memory.
Yeah.
Right?
And so I feel like in the back of my mind, okay, yeah, we could still fail miserably, but as long as you're willing to get yourself back up, you're still going to have a great family. You're still going to be able to move into another house. It might not be as big as the last house, but at the end of the day, it's just, you've got what you want intact. Right. So,
yeah.
Yeah. It's funny so it's how we react to a lot of different things. So our family, when I was in high school, essentially, my dad and mom, they did really well, and they renovated this like great, beautiful house, and then like all of a sudden, like some things happened in their business, and we had to move into this like old like rancher house, in a matter of a couple months. And we had like a sign out front of our door. My parents, Asian parents, they don't really talk about what's going on. And I reacted to it with a lot of like fear and like, oh my God, like what's going on? And
I was so different. The reaction.
Arlene, and that was my, I just had like
I'm so lucky I have two different people in my partnership.
Yeah.
Because it takes a little bit more for Mike to jump on board. It is always.
Yeah. So like,
that's just the truth.
Yeah. I took it like I actually took it pretty hard. I was like, what is going on? Like, we were in this cool house. We had like a movie room and we were just like living a good life. And then like all of a sudden we're like living in this like really not nice place, and
I think those struggles are good though. I think those struggles are so good though for like an entrepreneur that like.
I remember
wants
the
to
rats
go
in the
through.
ceiling, like hearing them crawl.
No.
Maybe not. Anyways,
I do think that makes that's such a the reason why you guys have that grit and like I think if you had an even keel, like calm, like perfect life. There's a lot of people that just decide not to go into entrepreneurship. They don't want to take those risks because they're scared to go into that boundaries. And I think if you show your children like there's ups and downs, but we're going to get through it. That's like that shows them to be like, oh, I can go and start a company or start a business.
Yeah,
and I can
totally.
And it doesn't matter if it's going to fail, but I'm going to do what I'm going to do, right?
Mm-hmm. How about you, Morgan? Do you have a good lesson learned?
My lesson is it's not what you say yes to, it's what you say no to. Like I think in
That's what I'm learning now.
yeah, it really
Oh,
is.
really? Okay.
Like, I think
Elaborate on that.
Like I think if in entrepreneurs, like we have so much opportunity, like especially if you are really open, your eyes are very open. And just even myself, when I first met Mike and Arlene, I was approached by another couple brokerages to start with their teams, right? One was another brokerage that was like, hey, do you want to be one of the ownerships? And I didn't feel good about it. I didn't have that connection. And then when Mike and Arlene approached me, I said yes to it instantly because I felt it. You know, I knew what was my like trajectory with these two, right? So if I said yes to the first people, I would have been in a totally different place. Like that's just one of my...
And like we were much smaller than the other options you had.
Yeah,
we're like
much smaller.
Super small.
They weren't even established. Like these people were established.
Yeah, they were established companies.
Yeah,
right?
they were established. And for you guys, like, I mean, and again, like, and someone... It's the same thing with resale and business. It's like it's not about how much you can take on. It's about who you can take on. It's about opportunities that have come to us in Oakwyn and great opportunities. And we had to make those decisions. And I think because we've said no to a lot of them, we surpassed our expectations. So I think it's really about what we say no to and just on a personal level, I mean, on a day-to-day level as well. Not taking on so much and just focusing in on the things that really will make those big changes.
Totally. So one last question. What does the future hold for Arlene?
Yes.
Looking at the crystal ball.
Oh, what does the future hold? I think the sky's the limit. I think right now I'm at that probably a stage where I think I could do so much more because I'm starting to realize now, like, oh, okay, it's just not just what we do can be applied in real estate, but in so many different ways. And we've created something with everybody believing that we can change the industry and make transformation in people's lives and all of these things, that we have such a platform to be able to impact the industry and in other ways, the community in different ways. And so I think that's what the future holds next. This next chapter will be, okay, we're serving our customers really well. We're serving the agents really well, but how can we serve our communities and, the greater scheme of things in a bigger way? So that's kind of
I love that.
where I'm thinking.
That is
Awesome
and super inspiring. And on that note, I think that's a perfect way to end.
Yes. Thank you, Arlene.
Yeah. Thank you, Arlene, for being part of the Oakwyn podcast.
Thank you for having me.
One of our fearless leaders here. If someone wants to get in touch with you, Ara, what's the best way to do that?
They can call or text or send me an email. And do I have to say those?
Say the email. Say the email.
The email.
Yeah.
Okay. Achiang, ACHIANG at Oakwyn.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being a guest on our podcast, Arlene. And on that note, guys, if you're interested in Oakwyn, if you're an agent from another office and you are interested in our company, go to www.oakwyn.com/join and type in the message box pod 2021 and you'd get a free piece of mystery swag when you meet one of our
swag is good, guys.
leaders.
The swag is good.
It is very good. Morgan just actually made some new stuff.
New
right?
stuff. New spring collection coming out.
Oh,
soon.
spring collection. That's cool.
It's dope.
Yeah. And thanks so much for listening, guys. See you later.
Thanks, guys. Bye.